Welcome back to the Eastern Business Report. I am Cherry Ojukwu. When we discuss education reform, the focus is almost exclusively on classrooms, test scores, and student welfare. But across the Southeast, sweeping investments in our schools and educational infrastructure are triggering a massive, often overlooked economic ripple effect. This isn't just social policy, it is an economic engine. In the short term, the modernization of our schools opens up immediate high-value supply chains for local contractors, tech vendors, and facility managers. In the long term, building a robust educational sector is the ultimate solution to the specialized skills gap that forces our fully operational regional industries to import talent from outside the East. Today, we're looking past the boards and projectors and focusing on the contracts, the local supply chains, and the future workforce. Joining me in the studio to unpack the business of education reform is Public Affairs Analyst, Mr. Emmanuel Chime. It's such a pleasure to have you on the program, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Very well. So, Mr. Chime, the transition toward modernizing our educational infrastructure involves massive upgrades. From a business perspective, how effective are local MSMEs like hardware vendors, local builders, and facility managers? How are they capturing the supply chain opportunities generated by the massive projects?
Okay, thank you very much. But when you say massive project, I begin to think if there is something happening behind camera that maybe many people are not saying. Or are we just quoting what are being written on papers that are making rounds on newspapers, social media, and thereabouts? Are we talking about the realities on ground? If that is exactly what we are reflecting on, then we go to there. Okay. But if it is about the rhetorics that are being told, then I will make some references and which are not different from what is happening in Nigeria and, of course, in the area of education. So, for instance, if you take it to the area of power, then you discover that was sometime last year, if I'm not mistaken. My memory serves me right here. Then you remember that our president rightly said that he was, raising a bond, in the tune of 509 billion naira. And people started, investing into it. People started subscribing. And by January this year, he said, yes, that I've been able to garner over 5.1 billion, and it was to be paid to Gencos. And at the end of the day, around April, he rightly told us that he approved, that was 3.3 trillion naira to, erase debt, Genco debt. And so we agreed with him. But do you know what? As we're speaking right now, the president of Genco organization, the association, rightly debunked and said that they have not received any funding from the administration in place today. And so when you see that, then that's why I'm asking you, are you talking about what is on paper? Or we are looking at what is on ground? Then if we take it to the realities of what is happening in Enugu State, for instance, that's Southeast here, and of course the hub of Southeast. Yes, we want to give it to our governor, the governor of Enugu State, Peter Ndubuisi, right? He's doing very great in that area. We believe he has very, very beautiful intention and, of course, vision that we are seeing panning out, and the way it is being, executed. So it is a very, very beautiful one, very commendable. But the other way around, we begin to add, because right on this same platform, this this television station, and of course other channels where I have been, I've always called for, the attention of His Excellency Peter Ndubuisi, to look at the quality of jobs being done. When you talk about the facility, you talk about the buildings first. All right? And so it is common that the buildings are not, they are not up to anything that someone can go into it and think of safety. We have seen it collapsing even while they are yet under construction. And we have seen it in the recent time, let's say last 2 weeks, just because of the rain. You see a lot of roofs being blown off. So what does that tell you? There's no quality when you talk about the facility. So who is going to be managing and who is going to even sign insurance for such facilities that didn't make up to any manageable standard? And so when you look at that, you begin to now ask what's going to mean or what's going to make the quality of teachings, trainings that will be blandished under that particular roof. So if there are computers, for instance, with which the children are being taught, if there are computers in those areas, in those schools, whose roofs are being, pulled off by the rain. Then you begin to ask, what then is the safety of those computers? Are they still there by now? And so when you look at that, or including the ones that are dilapidating, when there are some videos, if you see now, you visit the site, you see it clear. You see where buildings that are just being built, I mean, they are just being erected, and the cracks, oh my God, it's terrible. So when you look at those things, you begin to ask, are we really serious? Are we really ready to transit from what it used to be, to a new phase of academics here? And so, but the other way around, if we will be intentional about it and we'll kill politics, we'll kill business mindsets, we'll treat this area of our economy, this area of our, our governance, like our private properties. Because I know our dearest governor wouldn't take the quality of that building as to be his own personal building. He wouldn't take it to be his own building if they are to build such a thing for him. And we are aware that he's building his own private residence at his area down there at Owo, even as we're speaking right now. So I know too well that he wouldn't want that kind of quality, to be erected for him there. He won't go into it. And so if such is the case, then why are we doing it for the public? For goodness sake, we should even know that when it is something that has to do with the public, then it should carry more quality, because it may be rough-handled or thereabout. So when we are looking at that, if you spread it, or if you take it across to other, sections of Southeast, then they begin to say, okay, if everybody are of the mind, like our governor in Enugu State is doing, trying to revamp areas, especially the area of academics, then we begin to say, okay, that we are heading towards the right direction. But the other way around, how many Southeastern states are talking about skills? I mean, adjusting their school curriculum as to accommodate practicable skills. Do you know what we're saying this? In Nigeria today, we have this data of over 750,000 students. Yes, over 750,000 students graduating from our tertiary institution on yearly basis. Every year. Then after that, then you now bring it down. 765,000 students. Then you now bring it down. You discover that it's only an average of 65,000 that gets job. Perhaps among these 65,000 are underemployed, not even that they are well employed. But let's say they are employed. Now you have 700 that are not employed. Then when you look at that, it now takes us to where we have the problem of over 66 million unemployed youths in Nigeria. Capable, trained youths in Nigeria that are not employed. Then when you begin to evaluate why they are not employed and what have you, perhaps you might start looking at the area of, non-availability of the jobs. Then again, unemployability of these graduates. Then when we are talking about unemployability, we begin to talk about the skills that they are equipped with while they are graduating from the schools. Now, how many schools in Southeast are, partnering with these fintechs, partnering with these tech industries, as to begin to, teach our students, our youths, equipping them with these high demanded skills in the society? That after they must have gone to school, they will turn from being job seekers to being job providers or job creators. And so you discover that you can barely see a school in Southeast that is talking about that, except if you are talking about private schools. But even the private schools, you don't see that happening. So our curriculum has been a very big problem. I'm sorry, that was sometime back, 2017, 2018. I was privileged to pass through a particular school of thought then. One of our facilitators rightly made us to know, because it was in partnership with CBN then, rightly made us to know that from study, Nigeria happens to be 14 years behind international standard when it comes to academics. 14 years behind. So in other words, whatever you are being produced of from our tertiary institutions today, then it is something that the world have left 14 years ago. So what it means is that it is null and void. You are coming out must have wasted your time in the school. So what are we doing in the area of our curriculum in Southeast I think it's Enugu that I've been talking about experiential education, but I think we have not seen it in various other states in Southeast.
So with the growing reliance on digital skills in Enugu or in education, international internet, okay, let me rephrase the whole question. With the growing reliance on digital tools in education, internet connectivity is paramount. Very important. So how can local telecommunications clusters and tech infrastructure, providers position themselves to meet this sudden surge in public sector demand on data? Data subscriptions and all that. Yes. So what do you think about that?
Okay, what happened is that it is very easy. How much is Starlink? For instance, Afia TV happens to be running an academy. Afia TV can easily subscribe, install one of the Starlink gadgets right here. And whoever is here can easily connect and it to be used to run whatever training here. Access the internet services and what have you. So if we say, okay, because of internet connectivity and what have you, Starlink can help. We have, including our, what's that his name? That's MTN, MTN, Airtel. They have their package they call data package they call unlimited data package. Now, if you have such gadgets you install, then it can accommodate over 32 devices at a time. So if you are running such facility where you run such, academy, then you discover that making use of these gadgets is very easy to manage. So it's not something we can use as an excuse to say, hey, there is no data connectivity or there is no internet services, in places. They are there. We have Starlink who can make use of that. We have other channels who can make use of that. As simple as it is. We have a lot of money, for goodness sake. For instance, if we talk about Nigeria budget over the years, let's say, for instance, in 2023, Nigeria budgeted that was 1.52 trillion, 1.54 trillion in 2023. Then going to 2024, we budgeted over 2.18 trillion. All right, that was from 5.5% to 7.9% increase in the budget size. Then when we got to 2025, we had 3.52 trillion, right? Then in 2026, this year, we have 3.52 trillion as well. Now, when we have all these humongous amounts of money, now the question will be how much we are being released. It's not about paper. That's why I asked you the question ab initio. Are we talking about what is on paper, what the people we are being told, or what is on ground? How much we are being released? Like, does it seem like our academic sector looks like we are a 3.52 trillion we are injected into in 2025? Our academic sector, do you see it as where such a thing is injected? Then in 2026, the same thing, the same amount of money being maintained. Then when you are looking at this, you begin to equate it to what happened in the Ministry of Health. In 2025, it was what was budgeted was 218 billion naira was budgeted for Ministry of Health. Now, 218 billion naira, the Minister of Health rightly told us that it was 36 million that was released in a whole year. I mean, in a ministry that was supposed to be declared state of emergency. Now, if such happened in Ministry of Health, what do you think must have happened? Or what do you think will be happening in Ministry of Education today? Are we not sure? Are we going to be surprised if we hear that all these trillions of naira that have been budgeted over the years, that even up to a 0.5% is not being released for the real execution of the plans for the year? Are we going to be shocked if we see that happening? But meanwhile, today, nobody is even asking the government, where are the monies you budgeted? And we even borrow to make sure that these jobs are being done. But the jobs are not being done. The funds are not being released. And the funds are not being kept in the national coffers. And that's why that's why World Bank the other day now told us that they found out that from 2023 to 2025, that under this federal government, that over 34.53 trillion naira is missing. And nobody is asking. See, today, nobody has given an explanation about that. And nobody is even asking any question. Not even EFCC, no ICPC is asking question about that. So when we keep having such, such ups and downs, rhetorics in our budgeting and the execution of the national budget and what have you, then you discover it affects the output. It affects our financial efficiency. It affects productivity. It affects us in various areas. Our youths will always be coming out almost as daft because we are not giving them what they need in the schools, in the various institutions of learning. So if, for instance, after budgeting 3.52 trillion naira in 2026, it is not far from us to purchase these gadgets, Starlink and what have you, and spread it to various schools. Students will begin to make use of it and learn. Make available computers. So that by the time even if we are partnering with private sector, the area of tech industries, coming in to come and teach these guys, then it will be easy to learn. It will not be all about a projector that will be far away from the student, maybe a projector that will be reflecting somewhere in one of the walls or one of the display paper, and the students will be maybe a pole or 2 poles away from the projector because of how crowded the classes will be. And so when we provide conducive environment, these are part of the things when we're talking about reforms in our academic sector. We provide conducive environment for such learnings. Then we begin to talk about reforming our curriculum. The curricula will no longer be the same. It will now accommodate smart skills that if after teaching our students, by the time they come out not being job seekers, but becoming job creators. So these are the things we ought to be talking about now. Then we'll be talking about how it's going to be impacting our businesses within the Southeast region and what have you. Then you discover that it's no longer going to be a rhetoric. It's not going to be a case of, okay, how many students have graduated, and we'll say it is 100,000. And that 100,000, what are they doing? Nothing. The next thing we begin to hear about criminal activities here and there. And after you must have equipped these people without, the prerequisite merchantable knowledge today, then you discover that they will become more of trouble in the society than becoming a solution.
Okay, so the Southeast has a famous history of, entrepreneurial apprenticeship. That's the Iba Boy system. So how can we merge this traditional informal business training with the formal skills and literacy being, taught in our modernized classrooms all over the place?
Yeah, it's all about mentorship, you should know, right? Mm-hmm. It's all about mentorship. The truth is that studies have shown that our entrepreneurship scheme, that is Igbo Boy in Igbo land, has, even international community are studying it. The other day I saw one of the universities out there, outside the shores of Nigeria, in Europe, using our Igbo Boy scheme, to teach their students in the classroom, making references to Igbos, Igbos doing business in Lagos. And so when you look at that, they discover that it's something that a serious government would have come to factor into our place of learning. All right, so you begin to talk about, okay, how do these guys rightly do? Because studies have proven that Igbo Boy system have produced more successful millionaires in Nigeria than our academic system. Our academic system has succeeded in producing lots of professors, but unfortunately, these professors seems not to be that successful like those who have gone to do an apprenticeship. And they seems not to be that successful because whenever you see them participate in elections in Nigeria, then you see the actions. You see that how they sway off things, and you see that, no, these are not things expected of people that are supposed to be of high repute. And so when you see that, what would have been talking about is, okay, maybe one of the masters out there in the markets, will be approached, especially those that are being well lettered, will be approached and maybe begin to incorporate these guys into our academic system as consultants. As consultants. We cannot be teaching in our academic institutions, our tertiary institutions, we cannot be teaching entrepreneurship without gathering knowledge from these people who are in the field. Not because they are not in a formal sector where you write a lot of books, you do a lot of paperwork, and you sign and drop, and after signing, you discover that everywhere is still empty. that the people who are feeding the government are these people that are on the field. So why not we go there? Bring these guys in, capture the knowledge that they have, then sell the knowledge, inculcate it into these guys that we are teaching in our academic institutions. Like those doing, for instance, those doing marketing, those doing pub admin, those doing business management or business admin, and those doing entrepreneurship, those doing economics, those doing accounting, then those doing banking as well. These guys will come in, that's management faculty. These guys will come in to come and deploy what made them what they are in the society. To come and deploy it, So, but the problem is that we are not even looking at those areas. We're not seeing them as people who have something to offer. Instead, we are looking at them because they don't speak plenty grammar. And that's where we are getting it all wrong. Our value system. We are getting it all wrong in that area. We wish that this person, it must be someone that speaks plenty grammar before we now say, okay, come and sit down, let's listen to you. But it's not. If you go to China, they don't speak grammar. They speak their dialect, their language. If you go to Spain, they don't speak grammar. They speak Spanish. Go to various countries that are producing a whole lot. They don't speak grammar. They don't speak English. They speak their languages, and they use it to do a whole lot. So we wish that our government, especially going forward, will begin to harness the values and, of course, a lot of values that we have in these areas of our economy and bring it into our academic sector. It's going to help a whole lot.
There's a gap, and that gap needs to be filled so well. So that's the much that we can take on the Eastern Business Report. The Afia Business Morning returns tomorrow. Many thanks for staying with us. My name is Cherry Ojukwu. Coming up next is Afia. Bye for now.